Taking a break in the hospital room while I'm having a calm time, my wife comes in. "So, you're out of surgery?" She handed me a filled-out divorce decree. "This is a warning to you. If you act like you're a big shot just because you're out of the hospital, you're getting a divorce. Well, I have responsibilities as a wife and mother too. If you behave yourself, I'll stay with you." I don't know why I fell in love with such a stupid woman. I can't believe I was with her while I was in the hospital. I'm clearly aware that I'm going to be ruined if I don't do something about it. Yes, that's right. Let's get a divorce. My wife is quiet for a moment, and her eyes go blank. My name is Masaya. I'm a 28-year-old office worker. I've been married to my wife for 2 years. We both loved kids. We wanted to have a child as soon as we got married. But we were not blessed with a child. We tried to have a baby at the right time and did fertility tests. We took fertility tests and made sure there was no problem, but it didn't work out. At first, she encouraged me to take it easy and be patient. That's what my wife encouraged me to do, but as time went by, her attitude changed. Every time her period comes, she gets depressed and sighs. We were still in our 20s and not actively seeking fertility treatment. We were hoping to conceive naturally, but we couldn't have children. Our marriage is naturally deteriorating. My wife, who used to be so family-oriented and kind, she started to say things to me that I didn't mean. "It's nice that you finish on time. I can stay at home at night and relax. My husband is working overtime to get home. I just have to wait for him to come home. You can't even have children because you're taking it so easy. I don't know what's going on." Why would she say such a thing? She said we'd share the housework when we got married. I do my share of the housework. We've already been tested for infertility. It's not the fault of either one of us. Our differences are growing. She's obliged to do things at night, and it's getting kind of clerical. We mostly just have sex to make babies. I don't feel any love in our life, but I still wanted to have a child. I thought that if I had a child, my wife might be kind to me again, because that's what I thought. One day I came home from work and I was having dinner. A picture of a pregnancy test was sent to my phone. I was so happy, I couldn't help it. I immediately sent a line to my wife to congratulate her. No reply from my wife. I guess she was busy with work. At night, my wife came home. "Welcome home! I saw your picture!" I said to her with a smile. "Oh, you saw it," she answered without changing her expression. The atmosphere was such that I couldn't ask her if she wasn't happy. My wife is looking at today's dinner without making a sound of joy. It was just like any other day. I stood there in a daze. My faint hope that she might become kinder to me. I've had my hope shattered. My wife is no longer willing to build a relationship with me as husband and wife, as family. I wondered if she didn't want to build such a deep relationship with me as a couple and as a family. A little while later, morning sickness finally hit her. She's sensitive to smells and has nausea. My wife is in an increasingly bad mood. She still went to work, but she was in no condition to do housework. She talked to me and decided to go back to her parents' house. I thought it was a good idea. She chose to have the baby at home. I sometimes take a paid day off to go with her to the hospital. I see the baby on the ultrasound. I'm so happy. I called my wife every day at night, and it wouldn't bother her. But when I called her, she sounded so bored, like she wasn't even there. I don't know why she's being so indifferent. I was almost crushed by loneliness, but I still had high hopes for my wife. From now on, her belly will grow, and she'll look like a pregnant woman. She might change her attitude as she realized she's going to be a mother. I couldn't maintain my feelings unless I thought so. I kept having unstable days. I couldn't talk to my parents about my wife's attitude. Before I knew it, I started to keep it all to myself. But despite my feelings, my wife didn't answer my phone calls. Days like that started. One Sunday afternoon, I got a line from my wife saying that she was about to be in the stable period. I hadn't heard from her in a while. I was getting dizzy and nauseous a lot at that time. I'm going to see a doctor. The doctor said I had a problem with my automatic nervous system. I called my wife and told her about my condition. I heard a man's voice on the other end of the phone. "Let's go shopping today." I couldn't believe my ears. Whose voice could it be? He sounded too young to be my father-in-law. My wife had no siblings of the opposite sex. That means he's not a relative of my wife's. Maybe she's cheating on him while she's pregnant? I say, "Give me a line when you know the date of the birth." She hung up the phone without saying a word. I'm at the end of my patience. She just kept treating me like this. I'm not feeling well, and on top of that, I'm getting allegations of infidelity. My wife's about to give birth, and I'm a mental and physical wreck. The doctor told me to take a leave of absence from work for a while. I'm going to call my boss and ask for some time off with the doctor's note. I call my parents in case they need to know, and suddenly my mother comes to visit me at home. She must have looked really bad. My mother told me to go for a short walk, so I went outside. The air and sun outside the window were nice, but I'm a little dizzy. I'm going out with my soon-to-be-born baby, but I have something I have to do first. I told my mom that my wife was going to be at her parents' house, and she was making meals for the next 2 days. My mom went back to her parents' house for the night. I went out for a walk again today, thinking I need to get back into society as soon as possible. Just then, a voice called out to me from behind. "Hey, is that you, Messiah?" I turned around, and there was a tall, slender man in a suit. "I knew it was Messiah. It's been a while." When he saw me, his face lit up. I don't remember knowing such a cool guy. This guy's voice, I feel like I've known him for a long time. I went through my memories and came up with an answer. "Is that your voice, Yuki?" The man nodded his head. It was Yuki, a classmate of mine. His name was Yuki Tashibana. We went to the same school from kindergarten to 9th grade. We grew up together and always went home together. But Yuki's father was transferred to another prefecture after high school. Back then, there were no social networking services like there are now. When you were physically far away from your family, you became estranged. In reality, I didn't have a chance to see Yuki very often. It's been about 12 years since we graduated from junior high school. At that time, I was a member of the baseball team and had a shaved head. Yuki liked that. He still had his dignity, but we've both grown up. He's so handsome that even the same sex can't help but admire him. I heard that Yuki had returned to his hometown. "How are you?" Yuki asked me, seeing the look on my face. I told him that I was on vacation due to a little trouble with my autonomic nervous system. Yuki was surprised. I see a shiny badge on Yuki's suit. He's married with a child and has become a lawyer. "What's wrong with your health?" I told him about my wife's affair. Yuki promised to help me as much as he could. In a normal family, I would be at the peak of happiness, but I'm at rock bottom right now. I must have looked very unhappy again. Yuki is kind and always has been. He always knew how I felt, how I tend to hold everything in. I guess I really wanted someone to listen to me too. I went to a coffee shop with Yuki. I tell him everything I've ever done. I got choked up with tears many times during the story, and I was really overwhelmed. And when I finished, he said in a quiet voice, "You better look into your wife. I know someone who can help you. If you want, I can take care of it, and I'll get the evidence for you." I decided to leave everything to Yuki. After that, I got solid evidence that my wife was having an affair. Yuki's acquaintance's company works very fast. I can't stop nausea when I see the mountain of photos. I'm going to start recording my wife's comments. Yuki tells me that he's going to record what my wife says. Yuki's appearance encouraged me to get back to work. I had no idea that Yuki had become a lawyer. I'm glad I'm here, even if it's just a coincidence. But I wonder if my wife will change her mind after the birth of our child. After a while, I meet Yuki again. "I guess you know the truth, but congratulations on getting back to work." He said so, and I said thank you. I was thinking about whether or not to divorce her in the future. When Yuki started asking me about the child I was carrying, I want to believe it's my child, but I can't think about it now. I can't think about my wife anymore. I left Yuki that day and went home. I tried to call my wife once for the first time in a while, but she didn't pick up the phone. I won't tell my wife about this for a while. When she didn't answer, I called my mother-in-law. "Hi, Masaya-san." "Hello, how is Mayo?" "Thanks to you, she's fine. She's out for a walk with her friend." "I see. I hope she is well. I'll see you later." I only heard that she was fine and hung up the phone. At that moment, I felt a sharp pain in my stomach. I couldn't stop sweating. I called an ambulance by myself. The diagnosis was appendicitis. I called my wife to see if she could help me. My wife is about to go into labor. Still, she won't answer the phone. I had no choice but to call my mother-in-law again. My mother-in-law answered the phone and I told her what happened. She said she would tell my daughter and hung up the phone. I asked my mother to arrange for my hospitalization. My mother rushed to the hospital and got me everything I needed. I called Yuki, too, just in case. The surgery was done urgently, and I was finally able to take a breather in the hospital room. Then my wife came to visit me. But what she presented to me was the divorce papers. "If you're too bossy when I get home, I'm divorcing you." Which one of us was the bossy one? I don't know what that means. She was in the last month of pregnancy, and her belly was getting bigger. I kept quiet for a while. My body doesn't seem to be able to move that much yet. Is she better off living at home, or is she better off with someone she's cheating on me with? She wasn't interested in me at all anymore, and after all the divorce papers, I said something about divorce. "Yeah, let's get a divorce. But I'm going to hold on to the divorce papers for a while. She just handed me the divorce papers and left right away. I still have some things I want to look into. My surgery went well, and I'll be out of the hospital in a week. I'll be off work for another week. She's still pregnant. I can't even tell my parents that I'm divorcing her now. I've been having a calm time for a while. I kept the divorce papers. Yuki suddenly came to my house. Sorry, I couldn't get to the hospital. Oh, it's okay. I feel better now. I'll do the DNA test after the baby is born. I showed Yuki the completed divorce papers for my wife. Yuki was surprised that I showed her the divorce papers while her husband was in the hospital. The man with whom she was having an affair with was 10 years older than her. I had lost all feelings for my wife. I told Yuki that if the child was mine, I couldn't give it to her. I told Yuki that. I never thought this would happen. We had been happily married for 2 years, hoping for 2 children. What on earth was that all about? Yuki will give proper sanction to my wife and her lover. He told me that I had to do it. I have to get alimony and child support if it's my child. He suggests that it's important if we're getting divorced, that I get alimony from her lover as well. That's what we decided. Yuki said he'll make the documents for me. I leave it to Yuki. I'm going to divorce her when she gives birth. I'll go to the hospital and turn in the divorce papers, with the pictures as proof. I haven't heard from her about her due date, but it's almost time for her to give birth. I may not hear from them, so I called my mother-in-law and asked her to call me. I can't get in touch with her. I'm sorry, but please call me when the baby is born. I understand. That's what happened, and I signed the divorce papers. Next day, after work, I went to my parents' house. I showed my parents the photo evidence and tell them about the divorce. My parents were surprised. What about the kids? And my mother looks worried. If it's my child, I want to take it. Then my father goes silent for a while. Of course, she'll have to pay child support. When I told them that I had discussed everything with my lawyer, they felt a little relieved. The conversation was over, and my parents were going to be the guarantors for the divorce papers. My father was very angry about the picture. My mother was just so surprised that she lost her voice. A week later, a phone call from my mother-in-law. We just had a baby. It's a healthy baby girl. Okay. I go to the hospital at night with my parents. Yuki was coming too. After work, I took the divorce papers to the hospital. Through the glass, a little life is sleeping lovingly. My parents are happy for a moment, but then they started to get worried. My in-laws are overjoyed to see their first grandchild. I head to the hospital room with my parents. She is smiling after her safe delivery. I held out a piece of paper to her, saying, "Here's the paper you wanted." My wife's eyes lit up at the sight of the divorce papers. Her in-laws were surprised. Then I started to lay out the photos of the evidence. Then I told them I wanted a DNA test on the child. My in-laws are pissed at my wife, and they want the truth. They're going to do the DNA test right away. I'll get this paper out today before we wait for the results. Wait, do I have to get the birth certificate too? That depends on the results, doesn't it? So I introduce Yuki to my in-laws and leave it to them to decide what to do. Wife and parents-in-law, receiving the paperwork from Yuki. They looked pale. After handing over all the documents, we left the hospital. I went to the city office and filed the divorce papers. I didn't expect this to happen on the day the baby was born, but I'm a stubborn man. But I'll never forgive my wife for cheating on me, and I'll never forgive her lover. Then I get a call from the hospital. My daughter was my child. I burst into tears. I thought I was alone, but now I have a child. My parents and I talked about it, and we decided to take her in. I moved out of the apartment I was living in and moved in with my parents. I canceled the apartment. The day my child was discharged from the hospital, I went to my ex-wife and told her I was taking my daughter home with me. My ex-in-laws were crying because they had to say goodbye to their first granddaughter. I was heartbroken, but it was my ex-wife who was to blame. I don't give a shit about my ex-wife. It was my ex-wife who initiated the divorce. She was crying like a crazy person. She deserved it. Ex-wife, in-laws, and I go to the city office. We got the birth certificate, and me and my daughter were adopted. It's hard to separate a newborn daughter from her mother, that's for sure. My 50-year-old mother will watch her daughter. I apply for daycare, and she'll pick up and drop off my daughter. A week later, my ex-wife and her partner have paid me my alimony. Ex-wife is in grief now. My ex-parents-in-law are blaming my ex-wife for their sorrow of not having a grandchild. Ex-wife is going back to work after maternity leave. Yuki seems to have put a photo of the cheating partner in the partner's mailbox. So the cheating partner divorced her, and she got alimony to me and alimony to her ex-wife. My ex-wife is paying alimony and child support to my ex-wife. My ex-wife has become the talk of the neighborhood because she doesn't have kids. She moved in with her in-laws to be closer to work because she couldn't afford to live there. My ex-wife had no money, so she borrowed money from her father and sent it to me. She's not only working at the office, but also working part-time at night, and has to pay alimony and child support to me every month. Yuki said she was getting very old. From my point of view, that's a bummer. On the other hand, I'm feeling better and my work is going well. I look forward to seeing my daughter's face every day after work. My mother and father both seem to love their grandchildren. Now, I'm living happily at home with my family of 4. I'm going to live my life for my daughter. I'm glad that you are happy now. I hope you have a lot of support from the people around you. Good luck with your work and parenting. Thank you for watching until the end. How did you like today's story? Please subscribe to our channel if you like. See you in the next episode.